Crusaders Football Club is a Northern Irish semi-professional football club, playing in the NIFL Premiership. The club, founded in 1898, hails from Belfast and plays its home matches at Seaview. Club colours are red and black. The current manager is former player Stephen Baxter, who is the club's longest-serving manager, having been appointed in 2005. Crusaders played intermediate football until 1949, and during that time they were one of the top non-league teams in the country. The withdrawal of Belfast Celtic from the senior ranks in 1949 resulted in Crusaders being elected in their place in time for the start of the 1949 Euro 50 season. The club's fierce rivals are Cliftonville. Matches between the two clubs are known as the North Belfast Derby. Rivalries also exist with other Belfast sides such as Linfield and Glentoran. History Junior years Crusaders Football Club was formed in the year 1898, with the exact date unknown. The first meeting of the club is believed to have been held at 182 North Queen's Street, Belfast, the home of Thomas Palmer who, along with James McCartney, John Hume and Thomas Wade, was a member of the original committee. Many names were suggested for the club, including Rowan Star, Coulter United, Merview Wanderers, Moyola, and others such as Queen's Rovers, and the Lilliputians. Thomas Palmer felt that a name of more international significance should be adopted and he suggested Crusaders, after the medieval Christian Knights. Initially the club was only able to undertake friendly fixtures until it was admitted to one of the local junior leagues. Players were compelled to pay a match fee of 2 pence before they could take the field. It was strictly no pay no play. The very first competitive game of which there is any existing record was on December 10, 1898. It came in the North Belfast Alliance against opponents named Bedford at Alexandra Park and reports state that, after a splendid game Crusaders won by 5-2. Crusaders went on to compete in the Danville Alliance, Ormua Junior Alliance, Alexandra Alliance, Woodvale Alliance and Irish Football Alliance until their election to the Irish Intermediate League in 1921. Intermediate years The Crews quickly became one of the top intermediate sides in the country, and won an impressive collection of trophies, including the Intermediate League Championship 6 times in 10 years from 1923 to Euro 1933. In addition, the side were very successful in the top junior cup competition, the Steel and Sons Cup, winning the competition on 7 occasions as a junior side. The side also reached the Irish Cup semi-finals 3 times in the 1920s. The first came in the 1923 Euro 24 season, where they were defeated by that season's Irish League champions Queen's Island in a replay at Pirrie Park. In the 1924 Euro 25 season the Crews knocked out senior sides Larne and Belfast Celtic before being halted by Glentoran at the Oval in the semi-finals. They reached the semi-finals once again in 1927, losing to a Euro 4 at home to Derby rivals Cliftonville. The Crews also reached the final of the Belfast Charities Cup in 1923, also an impressive achievement as the competition was open to all senior clubs in Belfast and the surrounding area. Despite these feats, all applications for entry to the Senior Irish League were turned down. The frustration was such that consideration was given to making application either to the Scottish Football League or to the League of Ireland. The Second World War meant that there was no football played by the Crews between April 1941 and September 1945. Crusaders began competing once more in the Intermediate League after the war, beginning with the 1945 Euro 46 season. Early Irish League beginnings Crusaders won the 1948 Euro 49 Intermediate League with a record number of points, and coupled with Belfast Celtic's dramatic withdrawal from the senior ranks in 1949 resulted in Crusaders finally being elected to the Senior Irish League in time for the start of the 1949 Euro 50 season. Their first competitive game as a senior club was on August 20, 1949 and resulted in a 1-0 City Cup win at Portadown. Euro ex-Belfast Celtic striker Vincent Morrison, signed in the summer, had the honour of scoring the club's first ever goal as a senior club. Morrison would also go on to be the club's top scorer of their first senior season with 11 goals in all competitions. The Crew's first league match took place on November 26, a 1-4 defeat to Linfield at Windsor Park, and their first victory came on December 10 away to Ballymena United by 3-1, but the side would have to wait until April 1, 1950 for the first league win at Seaview, with a 4-1 victory over Glenavon. The season was tough going for the Hatcheetmen, as they were known, and they had to apply for re-election after finishing in 11th place out of 12 clubs. As has always been the case, however, Crusaders never lacked determination. On May 17, 1952 they participated in their first senior final, the Festival of Britain Cup final, which they lost 0-3 to Ballymena United. Under the player managership of Jackie Vernon they recovered to win their first senior trophy in the 1953-54 season by defeating Linfield 2-1 in the final of the Ulster Cup. The 1950s were not easy in spite of the presence in the side of some excellent individuals, and the end of the 1957-58 season saw another application for re-election. The decade also saw the emergence of Curry Mulholland, who represented the club from 1951 until 1960, setting a goal-scoring record of 149 which would not be beaten until the 1990s. Irish Cup wins and European forays. The 1960s brought much more success. On May 17, 1960 they won the County Antrim Shield for the first time, repeating the feat in 1965 with a 6-0 victory over Laugharne. With Jimmy Modeau as coach they also picked up another Ulster Cup final win on October 1, 1963, with a reply victory of 1-0 over Glenavon. These successes were overshadowed by two unexpected victories in the Irish Cup finals of 1967 and 1968 against the might of Glentoran and Linfield respectively. This led to Crusaders' first sojourn into European competition, against Valencia CF in August 1967. Also in 1968, they narrowly missed out on winning the Blacksnit Cup and becoming champions of all of Ireland, losing 3-4 on aggregate to Shamrock Rovers. The 1960s also saw the emergence of some of the greatest players in Crusaders history, such as Albert Campbell, who was the club's most capped international player until surpassed by Colin Coates, Danny Traynor, Joe Meldrum, Walter McFarland and Danny Hale, who scored an incredible 143 goals in just 4 seasons, including a club record of 55 goals in the 1965-66 season, which still stands to this day. Billy Johnston era. Jimmy Todd had won the second of those Irish Cups with the side in 1968, however by the early 1970s the Crews had declined slightly as the side of the 1960s broke up. Todd was replaced with Billy Johnston in early 1971, and he set about restructuring the squad. Under Johnston unprecedented success was to follow, with the Irish League Championship trophy finding a home at Seaview in 1972-73, with the attacking duo of Tommy Finney and Jackie Fullerton scoring 47 goals between them. The club also set a record of going through the whole league campaign unbeaten at home, a feat which was repeated 40 years later in the 2012-13 season. This led to the club's first ever participation in the European Cup, in which they faced Dinamo Bucharest and had the misfortune of setting the record for a defeat in that competition, losing 0-11 in the away leg on October 3, 1973. In the 1975-76 season the Crews won the league for the second time, largely aided by the goal scoring of Ronnie McAteer. Sandwiched in between these successes was a County Antrim Shield and Carlsberg Cup success in 1973-74. The second championship triumph resulted in the never-to-be-forgotten European Cup tie with Liverpool, which saw the brave crewmen fall to the might of Kevin Keegan and John Toshak among others at Anfield by just 0-2 through a Phil Neal penalty and a Toshak strike. The home leg which followed was played before a crowd hanging from the rafters that would undoubtedly give the current health and safety legislators a heart attack. The Crews put up a dogged performance. Keegan scored in the 34th minute, and the Crews battled until the final 10 minutes, when Liverpool's superior fitness told, with 4 goals coming in the final 10 minutes through David Johnson, Terry McDermott, and Steve Highway. However, the 1970s also saw the troubles begin to affect Irish League football, with two incidents in particular affecting the football club. On August 21, 1979, there were more than 1,900 police officers on duty for a match between Crusaders and Cliftonville, more than has ever been recorded at a football match in the United Kingdom. Another black day would shadow the club on January 12, 1980, when the UC constable David Pearce was shot dead by an IRA gunman during a match with Portadown, the only murder at a football ground during the Troubles. The 80s. Johnston had left the club in 1977, and after a 2-year spell of management by ex-player Norman Pavis, Ian Russell took charge of the club in 1979. While there was great promise shown initially during Russell's spell, with the club reaching both the County Antrim Shield and Irish Cup final in 1980, they did not build on this and Russell left in 1983. Although performances on the pitch in the 1980s were steady, they certainly were not spectacular, and the club paid the penalty for not building on earlier successes. Tommy Jackson took over in 1983, and led the Cruise to their sole cup triumph during the decade, with the club winning the Gold Cup for the first time in the 1985 Euro 86 season. Jackson left in 1986 and new manager Jackie Hutton had no money with which to buy players, but he did the club a great service when he somehow completed the deal which brought Roy Walker, initially as a player, to Seaview in 1988. Roy Walker era. Hutton was quick to recognise the leadership qualities in Walker and saw him as his potential successor. Walker took over as player-manager in September 1989, 2 years after his arrival as a player. One of his first tasks was to apply for re-election as the Cruise finished 13th out of 14 clubs. Notable players to begin their association with the club during this era were the likes of Sid Burrows, Glenn Hunter and Kirk Hunter. At the same time, local businessman Harry Corrie pumped some desperately needed sponsorship money into the club. As the revival began, Southern businessman Tony O'Connell also became involved. It was a partnership that was to produce the most successful spell in the club's history. Walker's side's he dubbed them the team with no boots. Went on to win nearly everything in sight, whilst wealthier and bigger supported clubs could only watch and wonder. There were 2 further championship titles won, whilst Crusaders also finished runners-up in 1993 and 1996. Other trophies won were the County Antrim Shield, Ulster Cup and Gold Cup. In turn, this meant more expeditions into Europe as the Cruise took on teams from Switzerland, Denmark, Lithuania and Georgia within a 5-year span. The team of the 1990s is regarded as one of the best in the history of the club, with a large part of the success revolving around the core of Kevin McCartney, Glenn Dunlop, Martin Murray, Sid Burrows, and the attacking duo of Glenn Hunter and Stephen Baxter. The team was affectionately known as the God Squad, due to the large number of Christians in the playing squad and staff. In addition to the first team and the reserves, teams at under 16 and under 18 level were introduced for the first time as the club looked to nurture and develop local talent in the area. Roy Walker suddenly resigned as manager in May 1998, just prior to the club's centenary dinner celebrations at Belfast City Hall. He was the longest-serving manager in the club's history until surpassed by Stephen Baxter in October 2013. Gradual decline. Subsequently, a lack of funds saw the Seaview fortunes decline as the decade came to a close, with Dublin-based player-managers Aaron Callaghan and Martin Murray both resigning after 1 year apiece in charge. Callaghan managed to lead the club to 3rd place in his sole season in charge, but it would be many years before the Cruise would challenge at such a high level again. Former player Gary Mccartney took over the managerial reins in July 2000. The team narrowly retained Premier Division status after a nail-biting playoff success over Lisburn Distillery thanks to a hat-trick from veteran Stephen Baxter in May 2001, but McCartney resigned just over 12 months later because of the limited budget at his disposal. Popular veteran defender Alan Dornan was appointed as McCartney's successor at the end of June 2002, and the side retained Premier Division status that season under his guidance, although the squad was very inexperienced and often included 6 or 7 teenagers. The emphasis on youth continued in 2003 Euro 04 as the Cruise achieved a mid-table finish, an improvement compared to preceding seasons. Dornan's next season in charge was not as successful. he was sacked just after midway through the season, as the Crews lay at the bottom of the table, despite having guided the team to the County Antrim Shield final, which they lost to Linfield. Dornan was the first ever Crusaders manager to be sacked. Former striker and fans' favourite Stephen Baxter was appointed as manager, but despite an improvement in results, he could not keep the club in the Premier League, with the Crews losing out to Glenavon in a relegation play-off, the first ever Premier League team to lose to a First Division side in the play-offs. The relegation was the first time Crusaders had ever been relegated from any league, and meant an end to 56 consecutive seasons of senior football. Stephen Baxter era equals, they immediately bounced back the following year under Baxter by winning the IFA Intermediate League, the Intermediate League Cup, and Steel & Sons Cup. After their first season back in the top flight after promotion, the Hatcheatmen finished in a creditable 6th place, after briefly topping the table at the beginning of the season. In the 2007-2008 season, the Crews finished in 7th position in the league after a somewhat inconsistent start to the season. They appeared in 2 finals, losing both the County Antrim Shield 1-2 to Glentoran, and the Irish League Cup 2-3 to Linfield. During 2008-09 season, they finished in the top 3 of the league for the first time in 10 years. The club also won their first Irish Cup final since 1968, thanks to a Mark Dixon goal, in a 1-0 victory over Cliftonville at Windsor Park on May 9, 2009. The same season, Crusaders began a partnership with fellow North Belfast club Newington in a cross-community initiative, which saw Newington play their home matches at Seaview. This became their permanent venue for home matches in 2011. As a result, Crusaders entered Europe for the first time in 12 years and faced Macedonian side FK Rabatniki in the Europa League second qualifying round. The game was drawn 1-1 with David Rainey scoring on the 89th minute. On July 23, 2009, in their second leg encounter with FK Rabatniki in Macedonia, they lost the game 4-2 and exited the competition 5-3 on aggregate. In a move endorsed by UEFA President Michel Platini, the club has also recently changed from a grass pitch to a 4G synthetic pitch. The artificial football turf pitch was manufactured by Act Global. They played their first game on the new pitch against Glentoran on November 14, 2009. This move has turned out to be fruitful for the club, with matches at Seaview being the only games in Northern Ireland to survive the weather over the Christmas period. The same season the side won their second major trophy in a year, picking up the County Antrim Shield after a 3-2 extra-time victory over Linfield. In the 2010-11 season, Crusaders challenged Linfield for the league title, after being 13 points behind at one stage. They ended up as runners-up. The Crews also reached final of the Irish Cup, where they played Linfield at Windsor Park. Crusaders went 1-0 up through Declan Cadell, but goals from Peter Thompson and Mark McAllister condemned the Crews to defeat. The Crews then entered the 2011-12 UEFA Europa League and received their biggest draw since the famous game against Liverpool 35 years before, as the side drew Premier League team Fulham in the second qualifying round. In the home tie, the side put up a brave fight, with new signing Timmy Adamson scoring an equalising goal and striking the bar with the score poised at 1-1, before eventually succumbing 1-3. In the second leg, the Premier League side proved too strong for the Hatcheatmen, as they dominated the game and won 4-0. At the same time, Seaview underwent extensive renovation, with 2 new stands and new seating installed, making the ground all-seater and one of the most modern sports stadiums in Northern Ireland. That same season they won the Irish League Cup, defeating Coleraine 1-0 at the Ballymena Showgrounds thanks to a Chris Morrow strike. Crusaders also became champions of Ireland for the first time, after defeating Derry City in the 2012 Setanta Cup final 5-4 in a penalty shootout after a 2-2 draw after extra time. Captain Colin Coates scored both goals during the match, with Coates, Chris Morrow, Matthew Snoddy, Stuart Dallas and Gareth McCune successfully converting their penalties. Crusaders played Cliftonville on January 26, 2013 in the Irish League Cup final at Windsor Park, losing 0-4, a joint record defeat in the competition's final. The following season, the same two teams reached a final, playing out a drab 0-0 draw at Solitude, with Cliftonville retaining the trophy by winning 3-2 on penalties. The 2014-15 season was a groundbreaking one for Crusaders. The season started with the side earning their first win in European competition for 18 years, defeating FK Ekranas of Lithuania in the UEFA Europa League 3-1 at home. In the return leg, Crusaders earned their first ever away victory in Europe, winning 2-1 thanks to 2 goals from Paul Hetley, and earning their first aggregate victory in Europe. In the second qualifying round, Crusaders bowed out against Swedish side IF Mccartney after a 1-4 aggregate defeat. In cup competition, Crusaders reached a quarter-final of the Northern Ireland Football League Cup and the semi-final of the County Antrim Shield, losing both ties to Bangor, and the semi-final of the Irish Cup, losing out to Glentoran. Despite this, the side saved their best performances for the league, going unbeaten from December to April and winning 12 of 13 games. A 1-0 derby victory away to Cliftonville thanks to a Paul Hetley goal all but sealed the title, with a 2-0 home win the following week against Glentoran with goals from Declan Cadell and yet another from Hetley confirming the Gibson Cup's place at Seaview Stadium. The team played at a variety of venues before settling at Seaview in 1921, which is still their home to this day. Earlier home venues included the Glen, Simpson's Boiler Fields on the Cahill Road, the Shore Road and Rokeby Park. Seaview was officially opened on Saturday, 3 September 1921 by William Grant MP, prior to kick-off in a 3-1 Intermediate League fixture victory against Cliftonville Olympic. In July 1966 the original social club, dressing rooms and administration areas were destroyed by fire. They were replaced in 1970 by the present bigger and better facilities. Lisburn Distillery shared Seaview with Crusaders from 1971 until 1979, after their original Grosvenor Park home was destroyed in an arson attack. Since 1972, Seaview has been the venue for the Steel and Sons Cup final, which is traditionally held on Christmas Day. Only 2 finals have not been played at Seaview since then, the 1975 final and the 1984 final replay. In 2009, Crusaders became the first team in the Irish League to install a 4G artificial pitch, endorsed by UEFA. The move has ensured that postponements due to bad weather have not affected Seaview as much as some other grounds. Other clubs have since followed suit, with Cliftonville installing a 3G artificial pitch the following year and Bangor in 2013. Crusaders also ground share with amateur side Newington. In 2010, after European funding was declined, funding was secured from a private investor for the club to move to a new stadium in the Duncrew area of Belfast, near the docks within 5 or 6 years. Supporters and rivalry, Crusaders has traditionally drawn its support from the people of North Belfast, Newtown Abbey, and the north and east of County Antrim. From these members it elects its committee and its particular ethos, with a strong emphasis on community relations. An example of this is their local connection with Seaview Primary School, who have a long-established connection with the club through fundraisers and charity events, as well as school fetes. However, the club's serious financial plight became very apparent in the early 2000s and in 2002 consideration was given to changing the structure from one of a membership-based organisation to that of a public limited company. Members voted at the AGM against such a change in May 2002. In 2009, club members voted to become a company limited by guarantee. While Crusaders would not attract as big a support as the Belfast Big Two of Linfield and Glentoran, they attract a loyal support and had the 4th biggest attendance in Northern Ireland for the 2014-15 season, with an average of 1,275. Average attendance North Belfast rivalry Crusaders' biggest rivals are Cliftonville, with whom they contest the North Belfast derby. Crusaders traditionally dominated the rivalry mainly due to Cliftonville's amateur status. Since the mid-1970s the derby has been much more competitive. While there have been unsavoury incidents in the past between the clubs and an intense rivalry on the pitch, they have developed a strong cross-community relationship in recent years. Overall, out of results that are known, Crusaders have won 115 games to Cliftonville 78, while Cliftonville have won 30 senior trophies to Crusaders 21. The sides have contested 4 cup finals together, with Cliftonville winning the 1979 County Antrim Shield final, the 2013 and 2014 League Cup finals, and Crusaders winning the 2009 Irish Cup final. Other rivalries Brantwood were historically the Cru's main rival when both sides were junior teams. With Crusaders' election to the Irish League in 1949, the intense rivalry gradually faded away. Crusaders also share city rivalries with other Belfast clubs Linfield and Glentoran. Players First team squad As of July 7, 2015, note, flags indicate national team as defined under FIFA eligibility rules. Players may hold more than one non-FIFA nationality. Club officials Managerial history a Euro caretaker manager. European record 1 ranking first round, PR preliminary round, 1 QR/2 QR first-second qualifying round. Honours Senior Irish League/NIFL Premiership, winners 1972 a Euro 73, 1975 a Euro 76, 1994 a Euro 95, 1996 a Euro 97, 2014 a Euro 15, runners-up, 1992 a Euro 93, 1995 a Euro 96, 2010 a Euro 11, 2012 a Euro 13. Irish Cup, winners 1966 a Euro 67, 1967 a Euro 68, 2008 a Euro 09, runners-up, 1979 a Euro 80, 2010 a Euro 11, 2011 a Euro 12. Irish League Cup, winners 1996 a Euro 97, 2011 a Euro 12, runners-up, 1986 a Euro 87, 1995 a Euro 96, 2007 a Euro 08, 2012 a Euro 13, 2013 a Euro 14. County Antrim Shield, winners 1959 a Euro 60, 1964 a Euro 65, 1968 a Euro 69, 1973 a Euro 74, 1991 a Euro 92, 2009 a Euro 10, runners-up, 1954 a Euro 55, 1966 a Euro 67, 1970 a Euro 71, 1971 a Euro 72, 1977 a Euro 78, 1978 a Euro 79, 1979 a Euro 80, 1983 a Euro 84, 1984 a Euro 85, 1993 a Euro 94, 1995 a Euro 96, 1997 a Euro 98, 2004 a Euro 05, 2007 a Euro 08, 2013 a Euro 14. Setanta Sports Cup, winners 2012. Gold Cup, winners 1985 a Euro 86, 1995 a Euro 96, runners-up, 1964 a Euro 65, 1966 a Euro 67, 1994 a Euro 95. Ulster Cup, winners 1953 a Euro 54, 1963 a Euro 64, 1993 a Euro 94, runners-up, 1951 a Euro 52, 1958 a Euro 59, 1959 a Euro 60, 1972 a Euro 73, 1978 a Euro 79, 1991 a Euro 92, 1994 a Euro 95, 1996 a Euro 97. Carlsberg Cup, winners 1973 a Euro 74. NIFL Charity Shield, runners-up, 2015. Blacksnit Cup, runners-up, 1967 a Euro 68. Belfast Charities Cup, runners-up, 1922 a Euro 23. Intermediate Irish First Division, winners 2005 a Euro 06. Steel and Sons Cup, winners 1922 a Euro 23, 1926 a Euro 27, 1928 a Euro 29, 1930 a Euro 31, 1933 a Euro 34, 1936 a Euro 37, 1947 a Euro 48, 2005 a Euro 06, runners-up, 1934 a Euro 35, 1938 a Euro 39, 1939 a Euro 40, 1946 a Euro 47. IFA Intermediate League Cup, winners 2005 a Euro 06. Irish Intermediate League, winners 1922 a Euro 23, 1925 a Euro 26, 1926 a Euro 27, 1928 a Euro 29, 1930 a Euro 31, 1932 a Euro 33, 1937 a Euro 38, 1938 a Euro 39, 1948 a Euro 49, runners-up, 1923 a Euro 24. Irish Intermediate Cup, winners 1926 a Euro 27, 1937 a Euro 38, 1938 a Euro 39, runners-up, 1923 a Euro 24, 1924 a Euro 25, 1933 a Euro 34, 1936 a Euro 37. McElroy Cup, winners 1929 a Euro 30, 1931 a Euro 32, 1947 a Euro 48, runners-up, 1923 a Euro 24. Clements Lytle Cup, winners 1924 a Euro 25. Junior Irish Junior Alliance First Division, winners 1915 a Euro 16, 1916 a Euro 17, 1917 a Euro 18. Lytle Trophy, winners 1915 a Euro 16, 1917 a Euro 18. Braithwaite Cup, winners 1919 a Euro 20. Empire Cup, winners 1905 a Euro 06. Pollen Cup, winners 1903 a Euro 04. County Antrim Junior Shield, runners-up, 1902 a Euro 03. Reserve Irish League B Division Section 2/IFA Reserve League, winners 1996 a Euro 97, runners-up 2010 a Euro 11. George Wilson Cup, winners 1952 a Euro 53, 2006 a Euro 07, 2014 a Euro 15. Louis Moore Cup, winners 1972 a Euro 73. Steel and Sons Cup, runners-up, 1949 a Euro 50, 1958 a Euro 59. Irish Intermediate Cup, runners-up, 1968 a Euro 69. Friendly Stayner Line Trophy, winners 1996 a Euro 97. References. External links, Crusaders FC official website, Crusaders Newtown RB Strikers, Crusaders Youth homepage, Crusaders statistics and results at the Irish Football Club project.